Hello, everyone. Today we have an awesome guest, Zach Adler, the winner of the Top Dig Invitational 2025 and the cEDH champion of USA. So, welcome, Zach, and thank you for accepting this interview.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's super exciting to be chatting on your channel and getting to talk to a whole new player base and share my journey a bit with your audience.
Awesome. So, the first question is, who is Zach Adler?
Yeah, that could be a long question or a long answer. But in relation to cEDH, I'm just a player based out of the US in California. I live in San Diego, and we play quite a bit of cEDH around here, but it didn't always used to be like that. There was a time when I came to San Diego where I was like, I don't really know where to play. I just moved there, and the scene sort of slowly was developing at that point. There was not a lot of big tournaments going on, a lot of very local ones. And I just say this because there's some people I've been talking to recently who have developing scenes and things that aren't quite up to the par that they'd like to see them be at. And I just want to say, like, you can be an active participant in that. And it was something I was really interested in doing. So there was a lot of times when I would drive out to tournaments like a couple hours away or go with friends and find them and get to play in them. So I guess just to answer the question, I'm a really passionate cEDH player. I really love playing the game, and I love playing tournaments. And then post-invitational, I've started to get into the other sides of the game, which is doing some content on YouTube and on Twitter, and then also learning how to do coaching. Both of those have been super rewarding, and they've helped me look at the game in a little bit of a different way, which has been fun to do.
Yes, absolutely. So you are in San Diego. I live in for 3 months over there in 2011. So I was living in La Jolla. So it's
nice.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it was very nice, very nice. And yeah, I mean, when you move to teach something, I believe you start to specialize because you start to attack different angles. You start to develop strategies to communicate and formalize all your knowledge, because it's like, for example, we have in our channel some videos about politics, and the thing is that, all the people knows or put in practice things, but then when you want to teach those, you need to formalize, and that I believe is the great things about teaching something. So for me is I am a teacher, so basically I am a super agree with you that it's very rewarding, and you grow as a person when you teach.
Yeah, I think you also kind of grow as a player, and
Yes.
you have to understand your subject matter at like a lot of different levels of understanding, right? So I'll have people come in who have literally never played cEDH before, and they're just preparing themselves to kind of get into it, and they wanted someone to kind of help them through that initial process. And then I have people coming in who are winning tournaments every single week, like large tournaments, who I would say are at my level, or even higher than my level, and they just want a unique perspective about how to play the game. So being able to understand your thought process and your philosophy on the game, and then being able to explain it in a clear and concise way is not easy. And it's also been just super interesting to like learn, how do you actually help someone grow and progress in this game? Because I never got coaching myself. So obviously I've been taught before in my life, and so that's where I pull from a lot of examples. And I've had coaching in other realms of my life. But it's been fascinating to teach it and to talk about the game in a really technical, more conversational way, rather than just playing it. And politics especially is incredibly difficult, like you said, to try and to break it down, outside of a game. And you're like, oh, this is how you do it. But for me, it is a super, like I said, it's a philosophical idea, and it's more of a state of thinking rather than it is like, oh, use this phrase here, like don't let them get you and say they're not going to win on their turn, and then and they cast the
Yeah.
final fortune, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. Uh, sometimes is the word that we choose uh, basically are at the end of the game, the chains that hold you and don't let you progress.
Mm.
So for example, you say, okay, so if you are not completely sure that you can't win, don't promise that. So basically, and probably this is related with something that you mentioned in your other interviews, that is how you respect the letter of the deal, or you respect basically this the spirit of the deal that you made. And that is
Yeah.
something that is very important, because I hear that in the cookout, the last big tournament, uh, and I saw yesterday in the Ian in comedian video that he mentioned that the amount of people that went to the tournament and lie was increases. So how you feel about that, and how you think about this, because maybe this is a new trend, or it's just you know,
Just
something that was
starting.
one weekend. I don't know.
Yeah. I what's I it's hard to say like I think anything should be done about it. I personally think people should play the game however they want to play the game.
Okay,
If
okay.
it's within the rules of the game, then I think you should be allowed to do it. Would I do that? Definitely not.
Okay.
Would I be annoyed that someone did that to me? Definitely. But again, it's all part of the game. And I think what we do as players is we demonstrate how we feel about how people play in game with us through a human perspective, not in the game. And I just think having conversations, like how I've solved situations where people have played in ways that I don't really like, is I try not to bring it up in game, because then it's this whole thing where I'm bringing two other people in, you know, and I don't like to create sort of these like group mob mentalities where it's like three people are like, oh, you dick, like you lied to us, like you're a bad player. Instead, it's like they're not going to get anything from that. They're going to be like, oh, fuck these guys, like, you know,
Yes.
whatever, I won, like you guys suck, and then they close off after the game. So and again, it's not something I do every time, but I think when I have done it, it's worked for me. Is after the game, I just like to have a conversation with them and talk through things. And it's not always lying. Sometimes it's like, you know, hey, like, did I do something in the game that pissed you off? Because it seemed, you know, like we didn't fist bump at the end. Like, you know, it's a feels bad kind of moment, and I don't really want to play that way. So if there's something I did that annoyed you, or that you wanted me to change, I'm all ears. I'm open to hearing it. And in this whole lying metagame that seems to be emerging, you know, I remember, I think it was probably last year, with Max P and Wounded Satellite when they had their podcast together, the old Colors Are a Crutch. They talked about lying too. They were like, "Yep, lying is becoming part of the game. You know, everyone look out for it." So I don't really think it's anything new.
Okay.
I just think it pops up sporadically, you know, and I think it probably happens in every tournament that, you know, people go to. It's just sometimes the content creators are lied to and they tell the internet about it, and sometimes it's just a random dude, you know, who tells his friends. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe the trend is growing. It could be that more people are choosing to walk this path politically because they're feeling like they're just not able to get wins in games, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, like that.
I am
Do you see that in your area?
Yes, it's like the people start to specialize, but also like learning more how to phrase the different deals. But at the end, you start to make this complex situation that the window to win actually you don't have window, because you need to basically keep with your agreements and keep your promises. So I am agree with you that maybe it's like the people is like if I don't break the deal, I don't I do not want to have another window. So
Yeah.
so maybe something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that's a really good point that you made. Like the way we're politicking now is making it so that there are less opportunities to win the game. A lot of politics at this point, and I think this has changed and sort of morphed in cEDHs. If I stop this, you promise not to win on your turn. That's super common blanket statement that people are making right now. And it's a way to like get safety and security, comfortability, like, oh, I'm gonna see another turn. I'm not using my last counter spell and then hoping that I live. So it makes sense that, like you said, people have less windows to win. They're gonna get, scared that, oh, this is my last opportunity, time's running out. Like, I don't want to lose right now, but I also, if I don't agree to this deal, like, am I just gonna pass through my turn and not have a chance to win? I think a lot of decks that capitalize well on this, the reason this political maneuvering, I believe, is working so well is because there are decks that really capitalize well. Like Rogthras is a good example of a deck where you're like, I won't win on my turn. And then you're like, here's a Seaborn Muse, and here's an Abora Bruise Collar, and here's a Biomancer's Familiar. So I have like 45 mana, and I'm going to win at flash speed. And that's where it's like, well, he didn't win on his turn, but he is pretty much impossible to beat, right? And there's layers of like what in the US we call angle shooting. I'm not sure if you guys call it the same thing in South America. Okay. Yeah. Yes. But it's a fascinating thing. I think, we're approached with this kind of problem, I would say. And as a community, we have to figure out, okay, if there are going to be more people that are lying, then I can be angry about it. I can, proclaim them like dicks and like they shouldn't do that and be mad at them on social media. But I can also look at like my own game and how I'm influencing it.
I mean, related with the same topic is maybe through the tournament, the one that are streamed, we can find this inflection point, because at the end, what differences a good cEDH player from a regular one is that you are able to predict these changes in the meta and how the game is played, and adapt faster than others. So for example, I remember it's a meme right now, but it's the 10 hours game that was that tournament. And I remember that when I saw that, because I didn't saw the full game, but
I remember, I don't know who did.
I remember so that this is the next thing. So basically, the deals and the politics are gonna start to matter a lot. And I remember from that game, I start to refine my politics and my methods. And I believe that maybe the cookout is another inflection point that say, okay, so because the people cannot find the window because the deals is gonna start to break it. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it's a really keen observation, and I completely agree to an extent. I think at this point in cEDH, we are heavily influenced by content. If we YouTube cEDH is super new, and having all these people have all their opinions is one of the primary sources of information about things like the meta. Like we only think the meta is fast because everyone says it's fast, and that influences it being faster because more people are like, oh, I got to keep up, so I'm gonna play faster decks. Or the lying thing. It's like, oh, if I didn't go to Cookout, I would have no idea that people were lying more than they normally are, right? But since I've watched content and I have belief about that now, I'm probably going to be on the lookout. I'm probably going to have an opinion about it because the content creators I follow have opinions and I like them and I want to support them, in their ideology to some extent. And so I think we have this sort of snapshot of the meta that's a bit of a social construct, and of course it will be with any kind of meta or scenario. But if we are accepting of it, that it is this thing we've created amongst ourselves, and this idea that we've all collectively agreed upon, like, you know, and like you said, an inflection point, then if that is the nature of the meta we're going into right now, then I think people have to start asking themselves, okay, if I'm going to see more people lying across the table from me, how do I put myself into situations where it's not going to lose me the game? How do I politic in a way where people don't feel cornered and feel like, oh, if I agree to this deal, I'm not getting another turn, so I have to break the deal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think those are two big things that I would focus on as a player, instead of just being like, oh, I'm not going to trust people, and you know, everyone's out to get me, because I just don't think we should have that point of view. I think that's something that's not going to make the game more interesting and more fun, personally.
Okay. So this is a question that I believe is very interesting, because is how do you feel to be the champion, the US champion?
Yeah, I mean, it was really just a super, like I said, it's a very surreal feeling, getting to the point where, you know, like, this is the tournament. This is like what I had been working for an entire year, and it's what I'd been thinking about playing for 2 years. You know, the first time the Top Deck Invitational happened in the US, I didn't qualify, mostly because I didn't play enough tournaments. It was just something that I had saw, and I was like, oh, that's super cool, but I don't have the time to play a bunch of tournaments right now. We'd had one player from our local game store go to the Invitational, and then the next year when it came up again, I knew I wanted to play for it. I was like, this is the game I really love. This is the highest level of the game that I get to play, is a year-long battle that culminates in the best players in the US getting to fight it out at a tournament. And yeah, I mean, it really was, for me, not something that I saw as like, oh, this is, you know, I accomplished my goal, right? You know, time to move on. It just was a sort of, like I said, a milestone, like something that told me I was on the right path, and that the things I was doing was correct. I also know that winning a tournament like that is not just skill. There's a lot of luck involved. How I got paired, how I played that day, how my opponents played, the cards that I drew naturally. So I'm obviously super happy to be lucky enough to win it. And then the last thing about that is just being really grateful to everyone around me who helped make that possible. We had a really dedicated team of California players who all worked really hard the whole year. We had quite a few of us get into the Invitational. We traveled together to a lot of tournaments. We traveled to Pittsburgh together, and we all played together in that. Oh, sorry, just 1 second, getting some coffee. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, just being grateful that I had so many people around me that were there to support me, and who I was able to support. Like, had someone else been in the position to be winning, I would have been just as freaking excited for them, and like, it would have been an awesome moment. But in a way, I feel a bit of responsibility. I have a lot of people reaching out to me and asking for my advice and my help. It can be easy to kind of feel like, have imposter syndrome, like asking myself, yes, do I belong here? Like, am I qualified to be doing these things? You know, making videos, coaching people, having an opinion about this stuff. And the answer is no, but neither is anyone else. So, you know, we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go along. And more than anything, I've just had a lot of fun doing this, and I've had a lot of positive feedback from the direction that we're going with content and the way I'm doing coaching. And so as long as that's staying consistent, and I'm kind of keeping what I would say is like an active monitor on all the signals of people that matter to me in my life, as well as, you know, people in the community, then I'm gonna keep going. But yeah, overall, it feels kind of like a really meaningful and awesome step on the path of the journey through cEDH.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you never take coaching. So that means a lot in terms of your own tools. So my question is, what kind of mindset do you think is necessary to reach this level? And also, this the second part of the question is how you prepare for both good and bad runs, because it's like the variance. You can have some good tournament, bad tournament, and like it's like the some people can have the imposter syndrome that you mentioned, and yeah, so you can have a good tournament and then you have 3 tournaments that are awful, and you start to think, okay, I sucked, so I am not a good player. So how you manage all the things?
Yeah. Well, let's take that one by one. So the first part of the question you asked is, so I didn't get coaching, right?
Yeah.
How do you cultivate a mindset, like a championship level mindset?
Yes.
As the first thing with coaching, I would have absolutely got coaching if I had the money to get coaching. I didn't. So I didn't have excess funds to be able to dedicate to that. I definitely thought about reaching out to people like Comedian and Freedom Waffle for coaching. I think I even sent Evan a message, Evan Freedom Waffle Pierce, and he never got back to me. And later, I think I deleted it. But I reached out and I thought about doing it quite a few times, but like I said, I just didn't have the funds to do it. I think it would have helped me personally, like be able to kickstart some stuff. Because essentially you just get to piggyback on someone else's knowledge and the way they think about the game, and sometimes that's not useful, but a lot of times it does solve ways of thinking, and kind of shortcuts your progress a little bit. But the mindset that I developed is kind of what I'm starting to refine and understand as my personal cEDH philosophy, which is kind of funny when we think about it. Like, this is a game, like having a philosophy about a game is interesting, but something we're all putting time into, and I think it's important to kind of develop a way of thinking about it. How I think about the game is very much a journey over destination. Have you ever read Brandon Sanderson by any chance?
I did not, but I know that he's a very prolific writer. So
yeah. He's wrote a couple of series, and in one of the series, there's like a core tenet for this group of people, and it's journeying before destination, and that's always resonated with me. I think internally, and then when I heard it, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And it's not like some profound way of thinking, but essentially it just means that for me, the way that I get somewhere is more important than the place that I get to. And in cEDH, that's true on a lot of different levels. It's like, if the way I win the game is not honorable and I don't feel good about it, then winning the game means nothing to me. The getting to the invitational and winning the invitational was great, but what was more fun and more meaningful was the process it took to get to that win. And so I really think about cEDH, like, if the path that I'm walking doesn't align with who I am as a person, my belief system, if I'm not having fun along the way, then it's not a path that's really worth walking. Even if the end goal is winning a big tournament or winning a game, or winning an invitational. So that's sort of the mindset that I develop. And I've said this before, but a lot of people talk about tournament grinders.
Yes.
And I think the word grinder inherently has some negative connotations to it. Like I'm literally like pressure on pressure, and it's like hard work, and it's like I'm grinding through something that I might not want to do. And while that's probably not true for most tournament grinders, I just don't have that point of view. Like I love playing tournaments. I would play tournaments. Probably, I mean, having the invitational is a nice thing to like work towards, but I would play tournaments. I would just play Magic for no reason at all. I really love playing the game, and I think everyone does, and that's why we're all here. But I want to make sure that play experience is not only meaningful to me, but it's also, I want my opponents to walk away from the game having said that was a really good game, not feeling like they got by me. And I'm not perfect. I've had games that people have felt, bad, like where they walked away with a bad taste in their mouth, and something I always try and improve on. And I'm always super open to input from my opponents. And if I play in a way that is, schemy or negative, like I want to hear about it. I don't want people to keep that to themselves. And I'll, like I said, I'll often ask people after games if I have a feeling that it was a negative experience for them, like what happened. So anyway, that's sort of the mindset I have around the game. Really meaningful in-game experiences, having fun, being able to switch your decks and play something new and not just stick to a specific deck. I tried a lot of different decks. That's kind of the mindset, if that makes sense.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Something that happens after you win the Invi was like you start your own channel, YouTube channel that, by the way, is excellent. I mean, we enjoy it a lot. But also you start to but also you start to make different collaboration. You make different interviews with other channels, for example this one, and how you balance basically all of these new things with your personal life. It's like you compartmentalize, or basically for you it's like an organic coupling between all the things.
That's a great question. I'll also make sure to come back to the second part of the question from before, so we don't lose that part. But to answer this, it's hard. Like I was extremely overwhelmed, like really, really, really overwhelmed. Having, and it from all good things, by the way, it was all positive stuff, but balancing stuff like work and my social life outside of Magic, balancing getting to play Magic. I've gotten to play a lot less recently than I was before because I'm trying to do things like coaching, like create content, work with other content creators, obviously. And it really required a long, probably I would say a good month and a half. I mean, it's only been, I think it was August 15th or mid-August that the invitational was. So it's not been that long. But it's been a difficult process to kind of try and do all this stuff well. And that's the biggest thing I'm trying to focus on is like, I really want to make valuable content. I don't want to just pump stuff out and have people watch it because I won this tournament. Like I want to make stuff that is going to help people get better at this and have a way to think about the game in a different way. I want my coaching clients to get value because they're paying me. Like I want to have that be worth the money, essentially. And so I put a ton of thought into how I coach, and I try and refine that coaching process continually. And then I obviously want to keep playing Magic because that's the reason I'm doing all this. And one cool thing that I've been getting to do is working in playing Magic into the coaching sessions. So I've had clients who've asked me to play games with them and then talk about the games after. And those have been really, really valuable experiences, both for me and I hope for them. And it's a cool way that I get to keep playing the game I really love and be able to help someone think about the game in a little bit of a different way. But the balance basically has been get into the rhythm of making content weekly. So being able to record a video at least once a week. I have a phenomenal editor. Their name is Wayne. They play Zerta.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I would say quite famous.
Yes.
And they are amazing. They're one of the best humans I've met in this space. The biggest thing also I just want to say is like the community aspect of this game is the most important thing to me. I don't think I mentioned that, or I didn't mention that in as much detail as I'd like to. I've had a lot of people reach out to do more original artwork. So one thing we're going to be transitioning to next week is creating a whole new artistic vision for my channel, and I've been lucky enough to be able to work with them. One of the artists is in Canada. He makes music, and I didn't have the money to pay him, so I traded coaching sessions for the art he's doing, which was like a really cool way to do some skill trading. And then I have another artist who is local to San Diego who I'm working with, and his art is super phenomenal. And they have really unique styles, and they're both bringing them to the channel. So yeah, like I said, making that content, working on allotting time to talk to people. Like anyone who reaches out to me, I try and respond to. I want to give everyone time and my energy. And then segmenting coaching in specific times of the day. So I try and do like morning and evening sessions so that I have time to work during the middle of the day. And then I can also work with clients at the beginning and the end of the day, and spend time before and after that session to make those experiences personalized. I usually try and during those coaching sessions ask them a lot of questions about themselves so I can understand where they are in their Magic experience, what things they want to work on, where they want to go, like where would they like to grow as a player. Because I think each coaching session should be a unique experience and really tailored to who that person is. But yeah, the balance is it's not easy, but it's been really rewarding. Is what I would say.
Yeah, and it's good to hear that you have very clear those things, because as you mentioned, when you have someone that take coach from you, basically it's like, okay, so how much free time you have? Because based on that, I can suggest you, I don't know, maybe use some minute day by day to do some mocks build, like there's some hands, what kind of deck you play. So I mean, Magic the Gathering in general is like the average age is a little higher. So it's not like a very young community, and cEDH is for example, here in Chile, it's like is about probably 28. So it's not young people. We have some few, but it's very small. And basically help the people to navigate through different content and different tools and different approaches to equip their goals is great. So I completely agree with what you mentioned. So
I was going to say, do we want to circle back to that second part of the question that you asked earlier? It was just so I can understand, you talked about mindset first, and then the second part of that question was that like tournament prep, or would you mind just
the second part was related with how you prepare mentally for good and bad rounds.
Good and bad tournaments. That's a really good question, and that's another, I face that too. I have bad tournaments. Like I don't do well in every single tournament I play in, and partially that's because I like to bring new decks to tournaments, and sometimes they don't work at all. One that I did recently was I played solo Thrasios, so Thrasios without a partner.
I hear yes.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience. I didn't do that well in that tournament, and it was frustrating for sure. But I try not to think about cEDH in absolutes. I don't think I'm a great player, I'm the best, or I'm a terrible player. I like to think, did I enjoy the play experience first and foremost? Like, did I have fun playing? Did I find myself making correct decisions throughout that game? Like, was I playing well? Was I not playing well? A lot of cEDH is like totally mental, just like, kind of like golf or any other sport really. Like, you have to be mentally and physically prepared to be able to play the game well. And then in game, was I let me think about how to say this. was I aware of the areas that I need to grow and become better? Another part of like my personal philosophy in this game is we should be owners of our own locus of control in the game, and you have really no say whether you win or lose a game except for what you can put into it. But at the end of the day, there's 3 other people there, and you can only control so much. So being aware of what I'm able to control in a game, which is what I say and how I play, are the two things you really get to be in full control over, and how you react to other things as well. Like, am I getting tilted because someone lied to me, or did I feel like someone was angle shooting me or words lawyering me in deals? That reaction is totally up to us. So when I have great tournaments, it's usually because I am in kind of a flow state. I'm just playing, I'm enjoying myself. I'm not in my head the whole time. I'm not like, oh, is this right? Is this wrong? I think I'm a pretty intuitive player, and I tend to, when I played chess, play the same way. I was not someone who was like memorizing everything. And when you get really good at chess, you have to do deep memorization. But I think cEDH for me is, like I said, a very tactical game, and not as deep of a strategic game. There's layers of strategy, like, how do I do a breach line correctly, or how do I sequence, a Nas so that I don't get mind break trapped or something. But at the end of the day, a lot of that is intuitive. So being able to get out of your own head and just play based on how you feel, and sort of use your past knowledge to think through games. So yeah, good and bad tournaments happen. I would encourage people not to think about themselves as being defined by a good or a bad tournament. What I would encourage is, when you lose a lot, or you're having streaks of losing, or you don't do well in a tournament, try and evaluate what went into it that you were in control of, and how those aspects of the things you were in control of could be worked on or grown, how they could be changed, so that next time you give yourself more of a chance to win that game or to do well.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that this is very, very broad. That the losers are more informative than the wins.
Agreed.
Most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned chess, and also you talk about that in other of your interviews. So what kind of things you bring from chess in terms of maybe strategic habits, or maybe meditation techniques? I mean, I don't know. So you have some things that you bring from chess to cEDH?
Yeah, just so for reference, I played chess at a competitive level in 3rd grade. So it was a little while ago, but I played at the state level, and then later at the national level. And I mean, it must have been, I don't know how old I was in 3rd grade. I was probably like 10, maybe 11 years old. So it's a good 15 plus years ago for me. But intuitively, what I believe I bring from chess is a focus on just having fun. Like, chess was such a fun game to play when I was growing up, and I got to play. My dad taught me to play, and so that's something that we do every time we see each other, is we'll play chess. And I would say the biggest takeaways from chess that have helped me in cEDH is being able to predict game states. So saying, okay, based on the current board, based on what people have said, where do I see this game going? Is player A looking like they're going to be able to push soon? Based on the deck they're playing, based on what they've said, based on like how much cards they have, how much mana. And so being able to stop problems before they become over complicated and overpowering is a big part of how I think I do better in cEDH, as I can kind of see things come up before they become unsolvable. Secondly, like I mentioned before, I try and bring a lot of tactics focus into cEDH, which is somewhat reactionary. I don't want to get too tunnel vision on a strategy or a plan, because games change. The cards you draw change how you think about the game and what your plays are going to be. So the thought process there is, I have an idea of what I'm doing. It's not something that's set in stone. but it's a game plan I'm going to try and execute, and I want to create a highly malleable and adaptable mindset for how I play. So if new information comes up, then I'm able to pivot, and if I need to restructure my thought process in a game, then I'm able to do that on the spot instead of just being like, oh, this is the plan, I'm sticking to the plan, nothing's going to change. So being able to take advantage of opportunities as they arise. And then mindset for chess. I think for me, playing tournaments, I have relatively simple routines. And again, I don't advise anyone else do this, but for me, I don't usually like eating on tournament days. And that's a weird thing to say. And again, I don't think anyone should do that unless that's what really works for them. So I'm not giving that advice, but I just find that if I am expecting to like eat food, I have to find food that I'm gonna enjoy eating at a tournament, which can be tough. Like I got to go out of my way to do that. I usually will be somewhat mentally fatigued. Like if I eat, like I get sleepy, and so I don't want to deal with that in game. And then also I don't want to have situations where rounds end and I start a new round right away, and I'm like expecting to go get a lunch break, right? And then I have to play that round hungry and thinking about it and like distracted essentially. So yeah, my process is pretty simple. I try and focus on quality sleep the night before. Sometimes I'll be thinking about Magic during the night and it's hard to fall asleep. But for the most part, I'm just like, all right, make sure let's get some sleep, play tomorrow, have kind of that set up well. I usually have some caffeine in the morning to kind of keep myself going throughout the day. And then other preparation wise, like I just want to be comfortable with my deck. I don't want to be making too many last minute decisions about like what deck I'm going to play. It's okay to tinker beforehand and to tune it, but usually if I'm sitting down at a tournament, I want to have some comfortability with the deck I'm going to play. So that looks like getting in either online reps or in-person reps, and just being like comfortable with that. Doing gold fishing, a lot of times, like if you're able to do gold fishing to a win state, then in game it's a little less pressured, where you're like, oh, I just resolved an odds for the first time, like you gotta figure this out, you know. So that's really useful too.
I mean that is very important, because at the end it's like all the things that you can transform or do in an automatic way is not brain power that you're gonna use in that game. Funny thing about the food is like long time ago I was looking at data in our tournaments, and what we found was like because we have the launch after round 3 or round 2, it depends at what time the tournament starts, but you see the high variance of results in the round after the launch. So on that have sense, some people get sleepy and you have after eat, if you eat a lot. And so lunch is a factor. Food is a factor basically. So definitely,
absolutely,
definitely. Yeah. So when and that is something that I am probably, this is my second year of playing cEDH in a competitive way, but something that I observe, and I don't know if you agree with that or not, but is that the format is each year more complicated, so it's more competitive, and I believe it is because the people learn. Basically, we have more resources. So 2 years ago, we don't have all these channels like where people talk about different strategies, politics. We don't have deck list reviews, or we don't have mocks. Mocks was there, but EDH top 16 was not there. So each year is more competitive. So how do you envision the format evolving for the next year, for 2026?
Great question. I totally agree with what you said. Having more resources to pull from allows players to gain new information quicker and adapt their strategies quicker. Just like everything in the modern world, like high information rates mean that we have more inputs, and those inputs lead to greater innovation overall. So net positive, in my opinion, as long as the game can adapt, like this container that we're playing cEDH in, as long as it can continue to hold us as players and say, oh, we're not going to get to a point where every game just is going to go to a draw naturally, because that's where we're all at, is we're all good enough to see like, oh, these are drawing games. I think a lot of people had that concern at the end of last season. Like there was a ton of draws, but in my opinion, I see us shifting in really interesting ways. There was sort of there's always a balancing in the format where mid-range is doing super well, and then people get sick of mid-range and they start playing turbo. That appeared this year in the form of like semi-blue, Atali, big flips, Kinnan, sort of these creature-focused quick decks that are not running a ton of interaction and are able to push their game plans first, instead of the mid-range plan, which is more like adaptable and reactive, and focused on establishing engines, sitting behind the engines, and then winning at flash speed. But additionally, and I'm not sure if this is true in South America, but we've had tournament time changes. So we no longer have untimed rounds. Instead, Swiss has 80 minutes with 20-minute overtime, right?
Yeah. I mean, for us, it's 70 minutes, so it's not 80. So
okay.
Rounds on
Do you have
70.
20 minutes extra at the end?
No, we don't have. It basically, we have 70 minutes, and if the stack is open, so the people can continue. So, but in the top 16 and top 16 is without time. That is not great, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, some tournaments have time and they have sudden death at the end. That I didn't like it, because if you are in that Naus or Necro strategies, I mean, it's win or lose. You cannot basically win, because sudden death is based on life total.
Yeah.
So, and the finals are on time. Yeah, without time.
Yeah,
without time limits.
Yeah. So in the US, we've adapted to 80-minute round time with 20 minutes overtime. So on the final turn, you get 20 minutes. If the stack is still going after 20 minutes, it's cut off. You just finish, the stack resolves. I think that's a net positive, because what we were seeing, like you said, like the 11-hour game, like that can't happen. That's just not a scenario that should be allowed to happen in this game. We don't have the time for it. We don't have the judges don't want to stay. The venue doesn't want to stay open. I would not want to play an 11-hour game. That sounds terrible. And so having these time restrictions, I think, is a net positive. In top 16 and top 4, we've also seen some changes, and those were implemented towards the end of the season, and they impacted the invitational. In the top 16, it was a timed 3 hours, I believe. And the winner of that game, if it was still going on after 3 hours, was the person in first seat. And seating is obviously created by how well you do in Swiss. So if you have a better Swiss record, you're going to be higher seeded in semifinals. And I think it rewards people, even though no one wants to win that way, obviously, because it's kind of like, it's a little bit of like a shitty way to win. I still think it's a positive, and it rewards that player for doing well in Swiss and not just drawing games. Like, it incentivizes people to win. And then the finals was the same thing. I had the best Swiss record coming into finals, and so I was first seed. And that game went really close to 3 hours. We got right up to the edge there where it was about to be called. Luckily, I was able to win before that, and that was a really important factor for me, like being able to not just win because I was first seed, but win the game because I was supposed to win the game. Still, that impacted how the game was played. It meant that I was never heavily incentivized to push first, because I would win if it got to time. Again, I didn't want that to happen, but that's how the structure was. And so other players had to push before me. And at the end of once we were getting to time, that stack got really quick. People were making decisions very fast. And I'm sure it impacted the outcome of the game. But we don't have a better alternative for that right now. So we have to work with that. And I think before, we were seeing a lot of flash speed wins, and the stack was becoming incredibly complex, and these games are going very long. People would sit behind their engines and then, try and present flash speed wins. And I think we're seeing a little bit less of that because the time is a big factor. And in terms of how I see the format going from like a broad sense, I don't think I could say like, oh, we're going to be a turbo format or we're going to be a mid-range format, because that's ever shifting and ever changing. What I do think is that people are getting smarter with how they politic. They're identifying problems in the game, like the lying thing or the draw problem. And we're working on solutions to fix that. So there's natural adjustments made in game. Like, if people are sick of being lied to, they're going to play turbo decks that don't make deals. They're just trying to win the game. If the same thing is true of flash, big stack battles, they're like, I don't want to get to that point. I just want to win early. And so there's been a big resurgence in turbo in the US. But yeah, overall, I see this being an extremely competitive year. I think more players are getting into the format, and more people are wanting to compete for the top deck invitational this year. And good players are getting into Magic right now. We've had a lot of 60 card pros, not a lot, but a couple come into the game. And that's a super exciting change. Like seeing Sam Black come into cEDH and essentially pioneer a deck archetype with Rogthras is phenomenal. The same thing happened when Brian Koval came into the game. He really changed how people saw Blue Farm. Bryant Cook is one of the originators of Rogsai. Like those are some of the best decks that we play with, and they all are influenced by these 60 card players.
Definitely.
So I hope to see more 60 card players come into the game and change how we play, change how we think about it, change how we build decks. And ultimately, I see this year as being a net positive. I think that there's going to be more awareness of how we're playing. I think that people are playing in a way that is adaptable and trying new things. Like a lot of different decks are popping up as being viable. It's not just Blue Farm dominance the whole time. Like Blue Farm is still quite good and probably the best deck, but we're seeing a lot of different kinds of decks do really well. And so that signifies to me that we're in a healthy place in the format and the meta. So that's sort of my picture and my view of how I see this next year going.
Yeah, and also it's gonna be worth it if we have end year bans. So if we have some bans or unbans, so people already are saying that probably or maybe Resist Study get banned, and Jewel Lotus have a chance to be unbanned. So Jewel is very good because it's gonna help a lot of decks that to have the strategy of turn one commander that is good. Resist Study, I believe that most of the people is willing to let him go. So
yeah, I think everyone's okay with that.
Yeah, but something that I was thinking is that maybe after the ban of the Ristic, Blue Farm is gonna be more powerful.
Oh, it will be. Definitely will be.
So it's not. I don't know if it's gonna help to. It's gonna make the stack and a lot of things more simple, but it's not gonna help probably to reduce the win rate of Blue Farm or something like that if the people is worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, Jeweled Lotus coming back probably will make Blue Farm better. Ristic Study getting banned will probably make Blue Farm better. What I would say is that there's a fundamental game that, like, the way we play the game will change, because the engines to draw cards become worse, obviously. Like, let's say there's a Ristic Study ban. Blue Farm now has to rely on their commanders as draw engines. They have to rely on things like Mystic Remora, maybe even a card like Trouble in Pairs as a viable draw engine. And those are just like not as good. Things like Fairy Mastermind, I would say probably don't get played as much if Ristic Study gets banned.
Yes.
Yeah. And
probably Attributes of Fogma is gonna be more played than Mastermind.
Right. And so the rate of card draw dramatically decreases, which means that the backup plan, in my opinion, of Blue Farm is sitting on a Ristic Study and winning opportunistically. That plan I don't think will be almost at all viable. And so that other dominant archetypes in this meta might arise. I think Rogthras has a great chance of becoming, one of the best decks, right?
Yes.
Because it will be the best at drawing cards in the format. And yeah, so even though a Rhystic Study Band might make Blue Farm even better, the fundamental access and strategy of sitting behind a draw engine and just waiting will become worse. And so that strategy that Blue Farm employs might not be as viable as it once was, even if the deck is still drawing a ton of cards. If that kind of makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Rogthras, and you actually win a tournament with that deck. It was immediately after you win the Invi that you talk in your own channel that, or was it in another one that you mentioned that you believe that that deck is super good. So, but also you talk about how much brain power consumes in a tournament. Do not have access to silences. It's like
it's really hard.
It's really hard, and it's similar to when you play Grixis. That is basically you always are trying to win against a lot of things. So beside Rogthras and Blue Farm, what other decks are you currently looking at?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, to touch on those points, Grixis is at its strongest when it's winning quickly, in my opinion.
Yes.
And that's why not having silences is okay, is because you get to win before people have enough counter magic to be able to stop you, or they can develop engines that are going to draw cards to stop you. So usually you can just punch through wins. Rogthras operates on a totally different axis, which is like, it's usually trying to win later. It's more of a mid-range deck than it is going to win quickly. Like, it has great starts sometimes. Like, you can have quick wins on the deck, but usually the deck is trying to sit behind a Thrasios and play reactively, in my opinion, and that could be totally incorrect, but just from how I've experienced the deck and how I've played it, the best place you want to be is sitting behind Thrasios with a bunch of mana up, waiting for someone else to twitch, so that you can respond and win over the top of them with like a flash speed enabler. And so it operates without silences by winning at flash speed, and that oftentimes is where games were going to more recently. Not so much anymore. A lot of games feel pretty quick right now, but in general, if you have games that go longer, silence effects don't matter as much, because I can play a Grand Abolisher and then you can play a Born Upon a Wind, and it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So it operates in a way that it doesn't really need silences to win the game, but it, like I said, it does take a lot of brain power to play. You have to understand what your window is, and it offers way more windows than other decks, just because of the flash speed nature that it has, relying on cards like Valley Floodcaller, Crop Rotation for Emergence Zone, Born Upon a Wind, etc. So you get a lot more windows, but that creates a lot more decision paralysis of like, oh, do I go now, or do I tutor at sorcery speed? Like, do I hold up my mana? So anyway, those two decks can operate without silences, but it does make the game a bit more complex. And sometimes people say Blue Farm is an easy deck, and in some sense I agree. Like, you will just be able to have games where you get early Rhystic Study, early Smothering Tithe, and then you just go Grand Abolisher ad nauseum. You get really powerful cards and really powerful protection. But at the ceiling, Blue Farm is a difficult deck, and I've had a lot of people tell me that they pick it up and they're not winning, and they don't understand why they're not winning with the best deck. And it's because you can get easy wins, and you can, if you're a good player, like, understand how to navigate it. But once you get to the top of that, like, at the end of the day, you're playing a Grixis Storm deck, and to play Blue Farm really well, I think you have to be able to capitalize on the turbo nature that it kind of presents. So anyway, that's sort of my little tangent on the Rogthras, Rogside Grixis thing. The original question, though, sorry, what was the original question around this?
It is, which other decks are you looking at?
Which other decks am I thinking about? Yeah. Okay, so I have recently put together Ral again,
Okay.
I really liked Pigeon's top 4 performance. I saw that as being an indicator that the deck has real legs, and that it can operate in high stress environments against other good players and still win games. I think Ral is a cool idea of a sorcery speed deck. Like, it really operates at sorcery speed. It's trying to win on its turn very, very quickly. And it also presents wins in ways that are difficult to deal with. You can counter one of the spells, but usually all the spells they're casting are just to get Ral flipped. And if you try and remove Ral, they can respond by casting spells and flipping it in response. So it's highly low to the ground. It tries to win really quickly. It doesn't have, like Rogsai, like if you counter the Gnaws, like they're blown out of the water, right? So it doesn't work that same way. It's able to kind of be extremely efficient with how it presents wins, and it really storms really, really well. Another deck I've been looking at has been a new card from Spider-Man. And it's a deck that a buddy of mine is bringing to Fishbowl, which is our next big tournament in Southern California.
Awesome.
And that deck is Lady Octopus, the mono blue commander. The reason I see that as powerful and potentially underexplored is because you have access to a 1-mana commander, and we know how powerful Rograk is in that sense. Like a cheap commander. So you get things like Fierce turned on early. You can do things with Mox Amber. Things that tap creatures obviously are more powerful. And in addition to that, you get access to an insane amount of mana acceleration, because you can play her turn 1, turn 2, you can tap her, cast any 0 or 1 mana artifact, and that ramps you into your stuff really quickly. So I know mono blue is not generally looked at as a viable option in cEDH, but I do have a feeling that this deck is going to be more powerful than people think it's going to be. And also its ability to operate at semi-flash speed, getting around timing restrictions with her ability. And then other decks that I've been looking at, let me try and think if there's stuff that's popped up. I unfortunately have not had as much time to like brew decks and play test decks as I'd like to, just because I have been so busy recently. So I have a long list of decks that I'd like to try and play and play with. I've played around a little bit with Kinnan recently. I think Hire is doing phenomenally right now with the deck in the Critical EDH League, which has been super cool to see. And then another one is these sort of turbo creature decks. One archetype I really want to experiment and find a place for is a deck that's able to leverage cards like Sneak Attack. Well, because I just think having the ability to sneak attack something like a Grand Abolisher is super powerful, and it's not something we're seeing happen that much.
No, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned Sneak Attack, you mentioned Pyre of Heroes, either Bias. So it's like are very interesting cards that can
certainly.
Related with Ral, just probably like 2-3 hours ago, Datatalk just posted the win rates of different commanders and rallies right now. I mean, we don't know the sample size. We know that are like 3 months tournament above Series 2 players, and the win rate of rally is higher than Blue Farm. That was pretty amazing. It's crazy. And Italy was lower than I expect. But I don't know. Italy is always a party, so it's like even if you lose against Italy, it never feels so bad because it's so fireworks.
It is. It's super splashy. I think Italy is becoming a bit more of a known factor. Like, people really understand that they need to respect the deck, and it is a deck that will fold to like a Mindbreak Trap, because they're going with quick Italis, which often are ritual based, and sometimes you'll go like land Soul Ring, turn 2, cast a Jessica's Will, cast Itali, right?
Yes.
And if that gets Mindbreak Trapped, you're kind of cooked. You're just sitting in the water hoping to top deck more mana, and generally the deck can do that, and it can recover quite well for a non-blue deck and protect itself pretty well. But I do think that when people play responsibly against Atali, it is difficult for it to win.
Absolutely. Yesterday with the locals, we have an Italian in the pod, and he was super pissed off because we basically counter magic all the rituals,
right,
and he, and was like, man, we cannot do anything. I mean, if you land Italy is not gonna contribute to anything.
Yeah.
For
you're
us,
not helping.
yeah. You're not, yeah. So don't piss off. I mean, it's how work your deck. So, but yeah, I mean, it's how you say. If the people that know how to play against Italy, Italy basically have hard times. Basically.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I think Ral, to an extent, can suffer from that issue. Like if people are hyper responsible in pods with Ral, there's 3 people are keeping turn 1 interaction. It's going to be hard for Ral to push through that. But it's also really hard to stop it. Like I said, one counterspell is just not enough. And I often, in games where I play against Ral, will have a pregame conversation with the pod and just be like, have you guys played against this deck? Like, do you know this is going to win on turn 2 to turn 3? Like turn 2 most of the time. So if we're not ready on turn 2, and I mean multiple of us ready, we're going to lose the game. It is just uber powerful. I'm honestly not surprised the win rate is that high. It's I think it's going to be getting a little more attention from opponents, and people are going to respect the deck more. I also think that it's one of the decks that people don't like playing against. Like it's just not an enjoyable play experience for people because they're winning so quickly, and because they are so hard to interact with, and because the storm turns sometimes can take a little while. People generally are not like enjoying those games as much.
Yes.
So I found personally that's part of why I don't like playing it that much is because it tends to, in my experience, lead to a more negative game for other people, and I don't really want to create those scenarios as much. I do want to play it, and I enjoy like winning with it, but people definitely are not always happy when they see it sit down across from them.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the next year, I mean the next season, because it's gonna start the next season for the top deck Invi over there. So what are your goals for the next season? And also because if you include in your plans for the next year travel outside the US and play a tournament, for example, in Europe, Japan, I don't know, things like that.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Well, obviously, I would love to make it to the Invitational again. I'd love to win again. That'd be great. But I also have other things that I am focusing on this year. Content creation and coaching are big aspects of that. I hope that doing those things will let me play more Magic in the long run and think about the game more and have better chances to perform well in tournaments. But in addition, I didn't mention this, but we're also starting a California Invitational. So just like the Top Deck Invitational, we're going to have a statewide competition.
Awesome.
So that's another thing that we're working on. So it's a lot of stuff going on right now, and so I unfortunately don't get to play as much Magic as I would like to. But now that these things are a little easier to work on, like I have cadences that I'm able to create content, and I have a better idea of what I'm doing with coaching. It's not taking as much brain power. I'm hoping that I can start to go out to bigger tournaments and start playing more. I still play pretty often in my locals during the weekends, but getting out to these larger tournaments are really the best way to get points. And so qualifying is not an easy thing. I definitely don't think it's something that is just going to happen. I'm going to have to work pretty hard to do that, but in a way that I'm absolutely going to enjoy. So
awesome.
This year is really about a couple things. The first is playing Magic, obviously. I want to play as much as I can. I want to qualify for the Invitational. I would love to win again. The second thing is making quality content. I really want to make videos and podcasts that are going to help people get better, that are going to help them think about the game in a new way, and essentially just provide value through that medium. The next thing is coaching. I want to have a robust coaching structure so that when people come in, they can see what they're expecting. They can come in with goals, and I can help them reach those goals together. And then the final thing is putting on this California Invitational in a successful manner so that we have something locally that players can grind for and play for, and have a chance to, if they can't compete for the Top Deck Invitational, like they can't travel out of state, they still have something within the state that is going to count, and be something bigger to play for, and hopefully expand that as time goes on to other states, and hopefully other regions. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I would also love to travel to some tournaments outside the U.S. See if that's a possibility. But if it is, I would love to do that. I know Max P does that a lot. He goes to Europe, and he was just in the UK for their championship. So that would be freaking awesome. But definitely traveling within the U.S. Like I did last year. I think I only went to 2 tournaments outside of California, aside from the Invitational. This year, I would love to go to more. A part of that is finding the funds and resources to be able to do so. Figuring out how to do that is always a priority for me. But yeah, those are sort of my goals for this season.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that in a consistent way, cEDH has proved the number of events and it's like the number of people that compete over there in US is getting higher and higher, and probably, and I hope that brings more sponsors to for the different players in order to try to be real pro players, because I talked this with Waffle time ago that it's difficult to say I am a pro player, cEDH pro player, because basically I need to pay for everything that I every tournament, everything. So I hope that change in the meantime. Also related with the invitational, I saw that Zane recently put to the UK cEDH Nationals the platinum category. So basically it accounts for the Invi, but I guess was the last season, because it was in the last time of the season, that 2025. And then I write to saying that also to try to put our national cEDH tournament, because our tournament is smaller, so probably it's gonna be gold. So there is, I guess, saying is trying to think about how to integrate cEDH globally, because for sure, I mean, if someone over here qualify, is gonna travel over there. So it's gonna be super cool to have at some point like an invitational that is worldwide. So
I totally, it's gonna be so cool. I can't wait to be a part of that process. I don't know what it would look like either, right? Like you said, like, are your tournaments generally not as big as the ones in the US and in Europe?
It would depend. So we have our circuit is divided by venues, because Chile is a long country. So basically we have north, center, and the south. So basically each venue have 3 tournaments. The center is Santiago, that is the capital. So it's very big. In general, we have more than 60 players per tournament. So we have some event about 100. That is okay, because our population is not so. We are 8 million of people, so we are not so we are not a big country. In the south of Chile, we have tournaments that are between 40 and 50 people. I believe the more complicated one is the north. The distance between cities are very long, so basically there are a small tournament. But our tournament are between, I would say that in the center part more than 60 people, in the south are more than 40 people. So yeah.
I think that there's potential for us to institute a sort of RCQ style format for a global competition.
Wow.
So like, let's say, for example, in the US, what we're trying to do with California is create an invitational, right? So we want to have the best player from California be found essentially within the season. And what that would look like at a national scale is if, you have all the people that won their invitational in their state, they could all play at a national tournament. And that would be sort of a 60 card RCQ style. I think the same could be true globally, where we have a United States national champion, we have Chilean champion, we have a European or a UK champion, and all those people get to come together into a global competition to play for something bigger. But yeah, I hope Zane is not too overworked with all this stuff, and he's able to kind of think through the process.
I mean, for me, it's crazy always because you write him, and he reply very quick. So basically, it's like, and yeah, for me, it's like something related with Top Deck or related with the series. So he replies very fast, and he's always open to hear things. So because I mean when I contact him, it was like our community is very small, so maybe he's not gonna reply back, and he replay and say, okay, so we can maybe do this, and that was very nice. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's completely so Zach, we have been talking about for a lot of time, so I don't want to take more time for you. So the first thing is thank you for your time for accept this interview.
Thank you.
I believe this has been an awesome conversation.
Agreed.
Our Chilean and in certain the Latin American viewers will definitely enjoy it. I believe that there is a lot of extremely good takes in this interview, and of course, I mean, if some moment you travel here, I want to play some Magic.
I'd love to.
Yeah, let us know. We will make it something special. So yeah, you are very welcome in our country. So thank you so much.
That means so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation and chatting with you about it. It's awesome. Hopefully, what I would love to see happen is some sort of tournament that we could collaborate on, and maybe get a large contingent of U.S. players down to Chile and be able to do something like that. I think that's something that becomes more and more possible with a pro scene emerging, and more coverage, and more money floating around in the space. So yeah, I would love to make something like that happen. And same goes to you. You're absolutely welcome in the U.S. anytime. If you're ever traveling here, I would love to play. That goes out to anyone in the world who's in the U.S. if they're ever around, especially in San Diego. My line is completely open. I'm totally, free to be reached out to, and also if you just want to chat, I'm more than happy to do that. So it's one thing that's been really cool is I've been starting to work with coaching clients from around the world. I have a session with someone from France scheduled for tomorrow. I work with some people in Canada. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, no matter where you are, more than happy to chat and try and figure out how to, help you think about the game the way I do. But yeah, overall, thank you so much for the conversation. I had a really great time. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, thanks so much.